If you're a fan of strange, dark, and mysterious stories delivered in story format, then you've come to the right place because that's all we do. It was a warm, quiet night in a peaceful Salt Lake City suburb, the kind of night where the only sounds are the hum of a refrigerator and the soft chirping of crickets outside. Inside one of these seemingly safe homes, a 14-year-old girl named Elizabeth Smart was fast asleep in the bed she shared with her younger sister. She was a gifted harp player, a good student, and deeply loved by her family. But on this night, June 5th, 2002, the safety of her world was about to be shattered in the most terrifying way imaginable. As the house settled into the deep stillness of the early morning hours, a shadow was moving through the dark. A presence that had no business being there was about to make its way to Elizabeth's room, and by the time the sun came up, she would be gone, without a sound. The screen on the kitchen window had been carefully cut. Through this opening, a man slipped silently into the sleeping house. He moved with a disturbing familiarity, navigating the darkened hallways as if he'd been there before. He made his way to the bedroom where Elizabeth and her 9-year-old sister, Mary Catherine, were sleeping. Suddenly, Elizabeth was awake, and a cold blade was pressed against her throat. A voice, low and raspy, whispered a horrifying threat. "I have a knife at your neck. Don't make a sound. Get up and come with me." Paralyzed with fear, Elizabeth did as she was told. Mary Catherine, her younger sister, lay in bed, pretending to sleep while her heart raced in her chest. She was frozen, a silent witness to her sister's abduction. She watched as the man led Elizabeth out of the room and out of the house, disappearing into the night. For what felt like an eternity, Mary Catherine lay there, too terrified to move or scream, before finally running to her parents' room to tell them that Elizabeth was gone. The man who had stolen Elizabeth from her home was Brian David Mitchell, a self-proclaimed prophet who called himself Emmanuel. He was a religious extremist who had once done handyman work for the Smart family, which explained his knowledge of their home's layout. Mitchell believed he had been commanded by God to take Elizabeth as one of his plural wives. With him was his actual wife, Wanda Barzee, a quiet and compliant woman who acted as his accomplice in this twisted divine mission. They weren't just kidnappers. They were manipulators who saw Elizabeth not as a child, but as a possession granted to them by a higher power. They quickly forced Elizabeth into a makeshift camp hidden in the dry, rugged hills just a few miles behind her family's home, beginning an ordeal that would stretch on for 9 long months. Life in captivity was a living nightmare, but not in the way you might imagine. There were no chains, no locked doors. The prison was psychological. Mitchell and Barzee stripped Elizabeth of her identity, forcing her to wear strange robes and a veil to hide her face. They gave her a new name, Esther, and subjected her to daily rituals and relentless indoctrination. They told her that if she ever tried to escape or cry out for help, her entire family would be harmed. This constant threat was a far more powerful restraint than any physical rope. They moved frequently, from the hidden camp in the mountains to an apartment in Salt Lake City, and eventually all the way to San Diego, California. Shockingly, they often walked in plain sight, moving through public spaces, with Elizabeth hidden in plain view, disguised by her veil and the suffocating fear that kept her silent. During her 9 months of captivity, Elizabeth encountered the public and even law enforcement on several occasions. In one instance, a detective in Salt Lake City stopped and questioned Mitchell, but he didn't recognize the veiled girl standing beside him. People who saw them later wondered why she didn't just run, scream, or signal for help, but what they didn't understand was the profound effect of trauma. Elizabeth wasn't just a captive, she was a victim of intense psychological manipulation. She had been broken down and conditioned to believe that any act of defiance would result in immediate and terrible consequences for the people she loved most. Her silence was not compliance. It was a desperate strategy for survival, born from a fear so deep it was paralyzing. She was a child trapped in an impossible situation, making choices that no one should ever have to make. Then on March 12, 2003, everything changed. Back in a suburb of Salt Lake City, 2 different couples noticed a strange trio walking along a public street, a man and 2 women in veils. Something just felt wrong. They called 911. When police arrived and began questioning the group, Elizabeth, under her veil, initially denied her identity, still bound by the terror Mitchell had instilled in her. But the officers were persistent. They separated her from her captors and continued to speak to her gently. Finally, one officer asked, "Are you Elizabeth Smart?" After a long pause, the wall of fear she had built for 9 months finally cracked. She took a deep breath and said, "I am." After 274 days, Elizabeth was rescued. She went on to become an incredible advocate for survivors, a testament to the fact that even after the darkest of nights, the sun can and does rise again. That is going to do it for today, but if you enjoyed this story, be sure to check out our channel right here. We're going to be dropping stories every week, so make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss a thing. I really appreciate you guys spending your time here with me today. Until next time, from Silent Secret Stories, every secret has a story.